Hi, how are you? And it's good to be with you. It's been a long time. It's been 2 weeks since I spoke to you last. But that's the way that it is. There really wasn't much happening. And to be really honest, because I've been going through quite a lot and processing my own grief and processing my own change, I wanted to be really sure that when I speak with you, I'm not overlapping my own change process and my own grief process over what information I'm giving you. So I apologise that's been for a while, but that's just the way it is at the moment. So I'm in my new surroundings, and you're probably going to see a whole lot of different locations at the moment because I'm a little bit transient while I'm trying to work out what the future holds, which is not so different to a lot of us, right? And my decision has been one foot in front of the other. So when I try and think too hard and too big, I can't get there. So let's just see where we're at. I'm here to talk about the full moon on the 7th of May, and it's going to be quite an interesting new moon. It's the Scorpio new moon, and it's in direct, of course, being a full moon, it means it's in direct opposition to the sun. And Scorpio is about all that is mine, but this particular full moon is really transformative. It's a very different feel to some of the other full moons. And so this is really going to be opening up for us aspects of ourselves that we know we've been trying to release or get out, but we haven't quite managed to do that. And sometimes the reason that these things take a while to come to surface is we're really trying to work through underneath, if you like, on the spiritual, energetical level, or even on the emotional level, what all this means for us before we start to release it. And this is very much going to help us release some of those things that we know we've been working on, that we've felt the change, the move within us, but we haven't been able to articulate. And this is going to push that forward. What is also really interesting about this new moon is it's very clear. There are no planets around the full moon. There's no planets in opposition to the moon, the full moon. Oh, well, actually, that's not quite true. We've got Mars and we've got Uranus. But as far as the full moon goes in Scorpio, it's a clear sky. And that's going to be quite interesting because that means there's absolutely nothing blocking or influencing all of that kind of behaviour. But we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. And you're going to hear a fair bit about me coming up in the next week. Not about me, but from me. Because next week is straight after this full moon. We start the eclipse season, which is going to be really, really interesting. You have to forgive me, I've got a bit of a cold. Melbourne has turned cold. I've been out and about in the cold weather, and of course, what's happened? I've got myself a cold, so we'll just have to see. So let's see what we've got happening in more detail. So the sun in Taurus, we also had the new moon in Taurus, that was really about earthly matters. And the sun is about earthly matters, about our values, what we value, what we think is good. It's about daily life, it's about possessions, and it's about security, and it's about seeing happiness in the simplest of things. And it's really getting very simple about our life and what's important to us and what we want to be working with and what we don't want to be working with. And that was what we had with that new moon. Now with the full moon, we have got Scorpio, which is all about transformation, but it's also very much about going from all that is mine to all that is yours. So Scorpio is about all that is yours. Scorpio is having a look at the other perspective. And this is where we get the transformation. So we've been doing a lot of work about what is mine and all is mine. And that's going to be actively challenged by this full moon. And I think that's going to be interesting. And this full moon is Scorpio. I want you to have a think about Kali. I want you to think about that for something to thrive and come together, often something else needs to give way to make space for it. So sometimes this is seen as the destruction moon because it's looking at removing anything that was blocking us, and particularly why by deconstructing or destruction, what we end up doing is taking everything down to its foundation parts. So rather than having a look at something which is big and whole, we'll be going down and have a look at the foundation parts and trying to make sense of that. And it's going to very much challenge this sense that we have of what is mine and what is yours. And this thinking about this is what I have, this is what they have. And that's often a continuum. A lot of the things that we're looking at in the astrology is definitely on continuums. And while this is either or, it's another way to look at it is it's both a beginning and an end. And we go through that process of going from one to another until we get an understanding of where that is taking us. So it's definitely having a look at the shape of things and whether we have a true understanding of what that shape is. It's very much about shared passions and about chance and choice. And this is also about this full moon, but fundamentally it's about transforming. So what it's about is, if you think about, we've been having a look at what we value and we've been going back to basics and rethinking about that. And now this is actually saying, okay, what are we going to do with that process, with that thinking? How are we going to take that and put it into our lives? And this is this transformation process that this is talking about. So this might be us making real decisions and real changes about how we've been living our life, our perception about our work and how we work, our perception about other people, and there's going to be some real change made about what we can manage and what we want to manage, and that's going to be very interesting for us. So we're going from things that are very simple perspective things, and Scorpio is about complexities and intangibles and mysteries. And this is, can you see that complexities and intangibles and mysteries, it's doubling down on the full moon anyway, and then it's doubling down again. So Scorpio full moon is one of the big transformative full moons, because Scorpio is all about transformation and understanding and revealing what's been hidden. And this is exactly what a full moon is all about anyway. It's about shining a light on that stuff that we've been holding, and now it's just going to be released. So it's a bit of a double whammy. So this new moon, the challenge post this new moon is twofold. One is to seek this balance between mine and yours, to seek this balance between simplicity and complexity, and where are we within that. So that's going to be a bit of a balance. The other thing that's going to be difficult about this new moon is, despite the fact that we're going to have Mars and Uranus in Scorpio at the time of this new moon, and they're going to be conjunct. So Mars is about really pushing things forward, getting fire in the belly, and Uranus is about the unexpected and also just a little bit nebulous and throwing those things up. They are going to be in opposition to this full moon. So one of the things I want you to get your head around with this full moon is, while we'll be making decisions, we will not necessarily be able to action those decisions. We've got a very small window to move things forward. I mean, the first Saturn starts to go retrograde on the 11th. Saturn is planning. So Saturn retrogrades are do-overs. So there's something about how we're living our life and our plans that we're going to have a chance to completely review. So if there's something new you want to get off the ground, you're going to have to move quite quickly on it. But don't worry about it. You're going to have the to do it. Or, and this is the or you're going to find everything's just going to slow down. And some of us are going to find that frustrating, because we might feel it's slow enough. So how can this possibly slow down more? But the reason for the slowdown is because you really need to think this through and be able to articulate it, because some of the other aspects of this Scorpio full moon is that to some people it's going to seem that it's a bit irrational and it's a bit irrelevant and it's going to be a bit left field and it's going to surprise some people. So given that this is not a good time for surprises when people are already a bit stressed and unsure, I think it's okay to slow things down a little bit about this surprise. That doesn't mean stop working on it. That doesn't mean stop planning it. It just means be aware that the fire in the belly and the need to push it forward, in some things you will find it moving, in some things you're going to find it is just not going to want to go because it's not quite ready yet. But that's okay. It's gearing us up for change. So there is something that we've been wanting to release, and this is going to allow us to release. How do you know there's something you want to release? You've got a sense, but you can't quite articulate what it is, but something is there, and you can almost feel it, but every time you go to have the discussion about it, you find that you don't actually have the words to bring it out. That's one sign that there's something to release. You kind of know, but you can't touch it. You know that feeling of, there's something about this that I'm not happy with. There's something about this that I want to do. There's something about this I want to change, but I can't quite touch exactly what that is. So there's a little bit of that as well. There's been something we've been wanting to express and we haven't been able to find the words. That will come, but the reason we haven't been able to find the words is because it is going to have a whole different concept to us, and it's not going to sit easily with everything that we've been doing in the past, because that's transformation. Transformation is really, it's destruction of the old and a complete reframing of the new. That's transformation. So this is not talking about wiggling around the edges. This is really talking about creating something very, very new. And I think that's going to be very, very good. So be prepared to do some releasing exercises. And you might be hearing things like, I'm ready to go. And what's a releasing exercise? Well, it's a trust mantra. I trust that I'm ready. You don't necessarily have to put a name to it. The energy of the full moon will put the name to it. And if you're meditating on I'm trust and I'm ready, you will probably find that the higher self or subconscious, however you want to word it, your guides will give you the words that you're ready for. And this is culminating not just on this 2 weeks. I got a real sense this is culminating on some major changes that have been happening for some time. Would be surprised if it's also a 12-month cycle of things you've been wanting to do and you've been knowing you needed to shift, and now is the time when you've got the opportunity to make that shift and make that new start. And I think that's what the opportunity is for all of us. So I think that's really, really good. I'm just going to let you know because I took some notes. So this full moon, quite transformative, and it's just before the retrogrades. And the retrogrades are first Saturn, then Venus, then Jupiter. So we're not talking the small retrogrades. We're talking the long transit retrogrades. And this is why I'm saying what we're going to do is get the understanding of what it is that we want to transform and getting the knowledge of what it is we want to transform. And then, because it is transformative, then there's going to be this period of time when we're going to have the opportunity to look at it and reflect on it and then try and work out, well, what does this actually mean for us? And I think that's going to be really interesting with this, this full moon. So it's the full moon. I thought we'd do the cards of Gaia. And let me just, I've got a small space, so let me just put that down. That's my notes. And let's see what Gaia's got for us in terms of this full moon. And then I've also pulled out my oracle cards because I think we are looking for messages. So this is really a moon to trust the process. Really trust that you're going to be able to release what you're wanting to release. And what you're wanting to release is a inbuilt desire or an inbuilt aspect of you that you really, now is the time to change that. I haven't been happy with that. Let's see what comes back. All right. Let's see what Gaia's got to say for this new moon. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. Six of Fire. Has come out. It's a beautiful card. Can you see that? Where's the good part? No, over the side, always over the side. Six of Fire. Look at the elements of that. Yin and Yang, posing, cup, flowers, sorry. And you can see the fire behind the ancestor. So there is a blessing, there is a ceremony, there is a coming together of things that are in opposition, but there's a homage as well. So I think the Six of Fire is very interesting in terms of the sixes are normally a fruition card. So something coming together. And something quite reverent coming together if you have a look at the pose of that. So we've definitely got something coming together. And it's fires about our relationship around us. So there's a definite change in how we understand and see and process what's around us and our relationship to it. But it's a really good one. There's a coming together. Knowledge. Knowledge. And I think that speaks for itself. So there's going to be an active pursuit of something, knowledge, that we're going to be seeking. And it's going to come to us. Oh, it's really interesting. Be prepared. I'm getting the scribe a lot. The scribe is about understanding written history and understanding the importance of keeping notes and keeping track of things that have gone before us and things that are going to come after us. And it's also this understanding of, because it's also an air card, it's also this understanding that we need to be keeping track of what's going to be happening to us. So I think that's quite interesting. Three of Earth, new beginnings, us nurturing something very beginning. And in terms of how we're living our lives and what we're doing, it's definitely nurturing. We're planting seeds. And then we've also got the Seven of Fire. Look at that. Trusting and knowing. But the 6 to the 7, there's this symbolism of duality, 2 foxes, 2 people. Flower. So it is, and see the eye. So it is about trusting our intuition, which I think is very interesting. And they've asked me to do one more card. So this is definitely about finding our passion and then doing some research and some really hard planning about that. That's the knowledge and the scribe. And then it's about our commitment to nurturing. And then after that, what we get is the 7 of Air, which is talking about, sorry, 7 of Fire, which is trusting our intuition about this and trusting for the guidance, what's coming up is the Eight of Air, and you can see that that's a balancing act. One sword is down, there's a little bit of blood coming out, but this is Gaia. So when we're having rebirth and we're seeking information and looking for transformation, it's not without a little bit of pain. It's not without a little bit of really seeking to have balance. And when we first go there, we will be out of balance until we get things formed. And major change card, Ten of Cups. And the Ten of Cups, or the Ten of Water, is how we value ourselves and how we seek to be valued. And I think that that's really interesting. So the outcome from all of this transformation is that we complete a cycle of ourselves in terms of how we want to be valued. Oh, and underneath the energy, again, you can see the Two of Cups, which is about the lovers. Lower arcana of the lovers. So it's two parts of us coming together in harmony. And I think because there is a lot of twos, there's the Two of Water, we see the twos, we see the pairs. So I think we are twos. So what we're looking at here is definitely a way of us representing ourselves. And not just, remember, because it's not just one, it's not just mine, it's ours. Because Scorpio is all about taking that into others, moving beyond the self, working with others, being with others, how we are interacting with others. And I think that's a lot of that is happening with these cards. So quite a transformative process, not without the hard work of using knowledge and the note-taking. A lot of nurturing, which is going to be rather beautiful. Turquoise, Lotus Mother. Now the Turquoise Lotus Mother is talking about the throat chakra and the lotus. The lotus is the flower of transformation. It's the flower of hope. It's the flower of rise. It's the phoenix, really. It rises from the mud to the top of the water, and then it only blooms when it has the daylight. So we're talking about us getting our voice. We're talking about us going through the transformation. And we're talking about us being articulate enough to eventually to do that. Well, that was interesting with the cards. And that's talking about us. Definitely, this is a time of transformation. Now, don't wait until you have all the words to talk about this. Start doing it now, because sometimes for some of us, like with the scribe, writing about it helps us understand what we're trying to do. Talking to other people helps us understand what we're trying to do. Oh, divine grace, the law of efficiency. So efficiency in divine grace time is all about pushing us very quickly to get to that point. So we are definitely going to be pushed and being pushed in the order of things to reach that point. So I think the cards are definitely also talking very much about a coming together, a transformation, a nurturing, a learning, and moving us towards where we need to be. And ultimately it is a massive change on how we see ourselves and how we relate to others. And it is definitely a transformation, and it is a divine transformation. Whoops, sorry. It's a divine transformation and the law of efficiency. What we don't need, we don't need. Perfect timing is the perfect timing. Okay. Nice to be chatting with you. And like I said, I'll come back and I'll do separate readings for the retrogrades. And I'm now going to do, because I haven't been doing it for a long time and I got pushed big time this morning, I will be doing a business reading. Okay, take care. Lovely to be with you. See you soon. Bye-bye.